After 65, life takes on a new meaning. The rush quiets, the race pauses. You begin to see things not in fragments, but in full. You realize how precious time is, how irreplaceable peace becomes. And more than anything, you start to value your emotional well-being more than ever. I've seen this shift in hundreds of my patients. Their aches become louder, their energy becomes limited, but their clarity becomes sharp. And yet, many still make the same mistake. They spend time where it drains them. They visit homes where their peace is slowly chipped away. And over time, they don't realize how much it's affecting them, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Let me be honest with you. After 65, there are certain homes you should not visit, not because you're selfish, not because you're unkind, but because your soul deserves protection. Today, I will share with you the 4 types of people whose homes you should avoid. This is not about judgment. This is about preservation. It's about keeping yourself whole. There is scientific evidence. There is emotional truth. And I speak from deep experience. Please listen carefully. The first type of person is the one who always complains. You know the one I'm talking about. You walk into their home and immediately the air feels heavy. They start with something small: the weather, the neighbor, their health, the government, and soon you're sinking with them into a well of negativity. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. A study published in the Journal of Gerontology found that older adults who are frequently exposed to chronic negativity have significantly higher levels of cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. High cortisol levels have been directly linked to reduced immune function, increased risk of cardiovascular disease, and faster cognitive decline. Just being in the environment of constant complaining can physically wear you down. Your body may be sitting still, but inside your stress response is fully activated. Your heart rate increases, your blood vessels constrict, your sleep that night suffers. Over time, your mood darkens, and the worst part? You start carrying their negativity into your own home. Without even knowing it, you've adopted a lens of gloom. Your joy is no longer your own. You must protect your spirit. It's not selfish, it's survival. The second type of person you must avoid is the one who never values your time. This is the person who calls you over, but when you arrive, they are distracted. They scroll through their phone. They speak over you. They interrupt. They barely listen. They treat your presence like an afterthought. Maybe they don't mean to be rude. Maybe they're just caught up in their own world. But after 65, every moment matters. You don't need to waste time in rooms where you feel invisible. A study conducted at Harvard University discovered that social connection is one of the most important predictors of aging well. But it's not just about being around people. It's about being around people who make you feel seen, valued, respected. Otherwise, the interaction doesn't nourish you. It drains you. You leave that house feeling smaller. And with time, that shrinking becomes a habit. You begin to doubt your worth. You start to question your voice. Let me tell you, that is one of the quietest forms of damage. You don't need to sit in rooms that don't celebrate your presence. It's not about arrogance. It's about dignity. You've earned it. Now, the third type of person you must be careful around is the one who always brings up the past, the one who reminds you of your mistakes, the one who reopens old wounds. Sometimes it's subtle, a joke about something you once did, a comment about a decision you made decades ago. Other times it's more direct. They question your parenting. They critique your life choices. They throw history in your face as if you haven't carried it long enough. Listen to me. You do not need to explain yourself anymore. You do not need to defend your past. A research paper published in the Psychological Bulletin found that rumination on past regrets significantly increases the risk of late-life depression. When others constantly remind you of your regrets, they are not helping you grow. They are keeping you stuck. And when you visit their homes, even if you walk in smiling, you leave with a weight on your chest. That emotional burden is not just uncomfortable, it chips away at your self-esteem. And that is a high price to pay for a cup of tea and forced conversation. Your memories are yours. They deserve respect, not ridicule. Choose to spend time with people who remind you of your strength, not your stumbles. The fourth type of person you must avoid is the one who lives in chaos, the one whose home is filled with arguments, with noise, with drama. You enter and it's like walking into a storm. Raised voices, tension in the air, everyone talking over each other. Maybe they've gotten used to it, but you haven't, and you shouldn't. At this stage in life, peace is your medicine. A study from the University of California, San Francisco found that seniors exposed to high-conflict environments were more likely to suffer from memory loss and emotional fatigue. Your nervous system cannot handle continuous conflict. It wasn't designed for that at this age. You don't need to be surrounded by shouting to be loved. You don't need to be present for every family fight. You are allowed to say, "No, thank you." You are allowed to choose peace over presence. You've earned the right to be protective of your calm. And if anyone questions it, remind them that you've survived too much to let noise define your final chapters. So what do you do instead? You choose wisely. You visit homes where you are greeted with warmth. You sit with people who listen, who laugh, who ask you about your life with genuine interest. You surround yourself with voices that uplift, with hearts that understand the importance of stillness. This doesn't mean cutting people off with anger. It means stepping back with wisdom. It means knowing the difference between connection and obligation. And it means remembering that your time is sacred. At 65 and beyond, your energy is gold. Spend it where it grows. Spend it where it heals. Spend it where you can breathe freely. Let me tell you something I've learned not from books, but from sitting beside hospital beds, from watching people in their final days. No one ever says, "I wish I spent more time with people who drain me." What they say is, "I wish I had protected my peace. I wish I had walked away from pain sooner. I wish I had chosen joy more often." These are real words. I've heard them whispered through tears. And you don't need to wait until it's too late to understand their weight. You have the chance now to be gentle with your days, to say no without guilt, to say yes to places and people who fill your heart instead of emptying it. If this feels difficult, I understand. Maybe you were raised to be polite, to never say no, to always show up. But let me remind you, you are not being rude. You are being responsible for your health, your mind, your spirit. The people you surround yourself with shape your world. And after 65, your world should be filled with light. Please take this seriously. It is not just emotional advice. It is medical. It is psychological. It is biological. Your body reacts to your environment more intensely now. Your heart is more sensitive to stress. Your sleep is more easily disturbed. Your immune system is slower to recover. You cannot afford to carry what does not belong to you. Let others deal with their chaos, their complaints, their need to relive the past. You don't have to be their therapist. You don't have to be their sounding board. Be kind, be respectful, but be distant. And in that distance, you will find space to bloom. You see, aging is not a decline. It's a refinement. It's a narrowing down to what really matters. And what matters is peace, not the loud kind, not the showy kind, but the quiet, steady peace of knowing you are safe. You are respected. You are loved for who you are now, not who you used to be, not what others want you to be, but simply as you are. So remember, after 65, do not go to the homes of those who constantly complain. Do not sit with those who dismiss your time. Do not stay in places where your past is used against you. And do not place yourself in the middle of chaos. You owe yourself better. And you have the wisdom to know what better looks like. Your days are precious now. Guard them. Choose with care, and never apologize for doing what keeps your spirit alive. You are not being difficult. You are finally being true to yourself. That is the most powerful medicine of all. How can you start making these changes today? Let's talk honestly. If you're over 65, you already know that time is not something you waste anymore. Not because you're afraid, not because you're weak, but because you understand its value in a way that younger people simply cannot. You've lived, you've worked, you've given, and now in this season of your life, it's your turn to protect your energy, your mind, and your emotional space. But knowing that isn't enough. You may have heard that you need to stay away from people who drain you. You may have agreed with every word. But the real question is, how do you actually start making these changes today? How do you take this wisdom and make it real in your daily life? This is what I want to help you with now. Not with theory, with steps, with truth, with care. First, you must start by acknowledging your feelings without guilt. That means if you walk out of someone's home and you feel exhausted, if your body tenses up just thinking about seeing a certain person, that's not a small thing. That is your nervous system trying to tell you something. And after 65, your nervous system has already carried a lifetime of burdens. You don't ignore it anymore. A study from the University of Michigan showed that emotional suppression in older adults leads to increased stress markers in the body, including inflammation. Chronic inflammation, as you may know, has been tied to diseases like arthritis, heart conditions, and even Alzheimer's. So the first real change you make is this. You listen to your body when it reacts to people. You honor your discomfort. You trust your inner signals. This is not being dramatic. This is being responsible with your health. Next, you must begin to set boundaries clearly and kindly. This is not about confrontation. It is about communication. You do not have to argue. You do not have to explain yourself in long paragraphs. You can say, I won't be coming over this week. I'm taking time for myself. Or, I prefer quiet visits. Let me know if there's a better time. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors you choose when to open and when to close. A report from the American Psychological Association confirms that older adults who maintain clear emotional boundaries experience higher satisfaction in their relationships and better psychological well-being. Why? Because boundaries protect your inner peace. They are how you teach people how to treat you. And more importantly, they are how you remind yourself of what you deserve. Another change you can start today is to slowly reduce the time you give to draining interactions. You do not need to make big, dramatic exits. You can simply start visiting less, calling less, responding slower. You can ease away from what no longer feels right. Gradual change is still powerful change. In fact, a long-term study in the journal Aging and Mental Health found that seniors who gradually withdrew from high-conflict social circles experienced less loneliness than those who stayed out of obligation. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being surrounded by people who don't really see you. So stepping back from those who deplete you is not isolating. It is healing, and it creates space. Space for better connections, space for quiet joy, space for peace. Now let me speak to something that many people feel but do not say, guilt. The guilt of walking away from a relationship, especially when that person has been in your life for decades. It might be a sibling, a childhood friend, even an adult child, and you feel trapped between your well-being and your history. Let me tell you this as a doctor and as someone who has watched many people reach their final days. Your guilt does not serve your health. Your history does not entitle anyone to your peace. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to grow. And if someone cannot grow with you, you are allowed to keep going without them. There is no cruelty in choosing calm. There is only clarity. Another powerful change you can make today is to invest in nurturing relationships. Even if it is only one person, one friend who checks in, one neighbor who brings you laughter, one grandchild who sits quietly and listens. Focus your energy there, because positive social connection is not just a comfort, it is a biological need. Harvard's 75-year study of adult development found that close, supportive relationships are the single most important factor in maintaining health and happiness in later life. More than diet, more than income, more than exercise, relationships matter, but not just any relationships, supportive ones, joyful ones, simple ones. These are the people who make you feel safe just by being themselves. Find them, hold them close. Another step is creating spaces that nourish you. That could mean turning your home into a place that truly reflects your peace. It could mean having a quiet corner for reading, playing music you love, tending a small garden, lighting a candle, having a pet. You might think this sounds small, but these small things are powerful signals to your brain that this is your sanctuary. Your home should be a place of recovery, a place where your nervous system relaxes. Researchers at the University of Exeter found that older adults who felt emotionally safe and secure in their home environments had lower rates of anxiety and depression. You don't need perfection, you need peace, and peace lives in the details. You can start with one corner, one chair, one morning ritual, and it builds from there. You also need to pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Inner dialogue becomes louder in older age. You have more time with your thoughts, and sometimes those thoughts can echo things others have said about you. You're too sensitive. You owe me this. You can't just walk away. If those thoughts show up, challenge them, gently, firmly. You are not too sensitive. You are wise enough to know what hurts. You don't owe anyone what costs you your mental health. And yes, you can walk away. You are not running from people. You are walking toward peace. Lastly, I want you to remember that making these changes is not about creating a perfect life. It is about creating a better one, a calmer one, a more honest one. You do not need to change everything overnight. You only need to begin, one choice at a time, one visit you skip, one phone call you shorten, one friend you hold closer. These are small acts of self-respect, and they add up. Over time, they transform how you feel, how you sleep, how you move through your days. You have lived long enough to know what matters. Now is the time to honor that knowing, to live it, not just for survival, but for joy, for ease, for clarity. The changes you make today can bring light into the years ahead, and that light is worth everything.